Get ready for a winter of discontent with layoffs, high inflation, and a plunging stock market. That's the headline from a recent Forbes article. And it's fitting for what's happening today and has been happening for quite a while in this economy. Things may look a little bit different today because we're inside.
Yes, unfortunately.
There was a little bit of a sideways rain and apparently more thunderstorms likely in the next 10, 15 minutes. So basically, from groceries to used cars and airline tickets, the prices for everyday goods and services have skyrocketed in 2022. So that has prompted policymakers, primarily Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, to drastically recalibrate monetary policy in an attempt to thwart inflation's damage to consumers' paychecks. You can jump in at any time.
Okay.
More on damage to consumer paychecks in just a moment. So how do inflation fighters know when their actions are effective? Well, one of the most widely cited tools at their disposal is the Consumer Price Index, also known as the CPI. And so here's how the CPI report gets compiled each month and why it's so important. The Consumer Price Index is the average change in the prices paid by consumers for a basket of goods and services over time. Although this basket of goods excludes taxes such as income and Social Security taxes, not directly associated with the purchase of consumer goods and services. The CPI does not include investment items such as stocks, bonds, real estate, and life insurance. And most importantly, CPI excludes food and energy.
So what is the point in CPI? Because those are the things that are what are tearing everybody apart, the country apart. So that's convenient for themselves to exclude the things that actually matter the most.
CPI Inflation Report, the most recent, will be revealed today, actually probably in about 10 minutes from the time that we're recording this. Stocks and index funds such as the S&P 500 could drop as much as 5% depending on the newest report. And the two hardest hitting punches that Americans are feeling every day are food and energy, like you said.
The two that are not on the list.
So with that being said, the inflation reports should be taken with a grain of salt because they don't account for what is really hurting Americans the most.
So this is their way of either not scaring people or hiding their heads in the sand so they can say, oh, we didn't realize. I mean, look at this report. It doesn't say anything about it.
They paint a picture that they want to see and that they want you to believe. And we'll actually get into that in another podcast.
Okay.
I came across a channel and this guy was saying, you know, the news headlines, they posted that there were weapons of mass destruction and we needed to invade Iraq, yada, yada, yada. When I never saw them, I never voted to invade Iraq, yet we did. Why? Because they threatened the dollar. And this is just, in my opinion, along similar lines of the Fed protecting the dollar.
Okay.
We'll get into that in another video.
Okay.
And so the pain Americans are feeling on a seemingly never-ending daily basis will ultimately carry over to retailers and businesses which could spell disaster for their balance sheets, bottom lines, their employees, workers, or our overall supply chain and economy as we prepare to brace for a deep recession and or hyperinflation coupled with severe job loss and layoffs.
Lose there.
And a recent comment shared on the video uploaded just the other day warning about updates from Walmart and a Walmart distribution center laying off thousands of employees after acquiring a robotics company stated that, and I quote, "I have a close person that works for WMHQ, Walmart headquarters, in Bentonville, Arkansas. They told me that Walmart has very little cash on hand and is past due with many vendors, Kraft, Nabisco, It says Mondelez, maybe they're part of Nabisco, Heinz, Samsung, Kelly Tire, and others. And they are supposedly threatening to cut Walmart off. Is it supposedly or supposedly?
If you put a B in there, I will murder you.
Small vendors are getting screwed.
Well, none of those are small vendors, number one. I don't know the last time Samsung was considered a small vendor, or a Walmart, or a Nabisco.
No, I think maybe what they're saying is the others that aren't listed are the small vendors.
Okay, like the people who you see on Shark Tank who Walmart's like, hey, we'll put your stuff on an end cap. Okay, those would be the ones getting screwed. Now, I don't know this person from Adam, but if it's legit, if a legit comment, and this is real knowledge that this person got from somebody at Walmart headquarters, you have to take into consideration Walmart was so used to ordering a ton of stuff ahead of time and people coming in and buying it. And then the pandemic hit and they still had the same amount of stuff ordered and then nobody coming in to buy anything. And then, the deliveries, you can't keep up with the same amount of deliveries as you can foot traffic. It's impossible. You don't have nearly as many delivery trucks as you do the ability for people to walk through your front doors. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was actually another... You're jumping ahead here.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. I just talk.
The founder of FedEx, he explained what the situation is or was or why we are where we are. And it's the fact that we have a lack of labor to help keep up with demand, which supply is behind, therefore causing inflation and further reducing spending power of the consumer because they're not working to make the money to buy.
Here's the question. Do we have a lack of labor or do we have a lack of companies willing to pay labor what they're worth and treat them like actual human beings?
I mean, in his opinion, it seemed like it was a little bit of both, a little bit of people deciding that they didn't want to work, coupled with companies not paying them enough to make it worth it. But it's not that the companies aren't really paying them enough to make it worth it. It's just that inflation has gotten so out of hand that what the companies were paying to make it worth it isn't worth it anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think I was watching Redacted, and the female host on there. No, I take that back. It wasn't Redacted. It was a different news channel. And the female anchor said something like, should these employees stop being concerned with quality of life and just get back to work?
I hope somebody smacked her like immediately because that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Don't worry about quality of life. Who cares if you're not making enough to actually live? Get back to work. That doesn't sound wrong at all.
I think she kind of got roasted in the comments.
She should have.
It was a little bit of a hypocritical statement.
As she sits there all fancy looking at a desk, probably getting paid plenty of money.
I got it here. It's CNBC, and let's see here.
Quite ironic how she talks about loyalty and how she assumed her organization would be loyal towards her. Oh, did she get fired?
It seems like that might have been the case. Maybe not for CNBC, but maybe where she worked before. But it kind of caught me off guard when she said that. And I don't think that anybody should sacrifice the quality of life. I don't even know who this is.
I don't know who that is.
I don't think anybody should sacrifice the quality of life for their job.
No.
But perhaps maybe, much like everything else, there's a compromise. There's a balance. Obviously, you need to work and or have a way of generating income. But it shouldn't be at the sake of
your living life. Well, so the thing is, now the compromise is get 2 jobs. That's the compromise. That's what sucks. There is no compromise on a lot of companies' ends. Their thing is, well, if this isn't enough, find a second job. So you're compromising your time and everything else because a lot of people don't know or have the ability to figure out side hustles, passive income. So they're out there working 60, 80, 90 hours a week in order to keep up with that same quality of life they had working 30 or 40 hours a week before inflation.
Not necessarily. Because let's just say we look at the case of the railroad workers union. They can't get a second job. That railroad owns them.
That's true.
They can't get a second job.
That's true.
And it seems right now that the impasse, the rub between the unions and the companies is the quality of life, not the pay.
Oh yeah, it's always been about the quality of life from what I remember. I mean, we would see comments all the time that people were like, "Listen, we're on call all the time. I have not seen my family in months. I don't know when I'll get to have a day off because you can't plan them. And if you do try to plan one, they take it out of your whatever points you're allowed to have or something. You can't plan a death. You can't plan well, you can plan a birth kind of, but there's certain things that the quality of life as a rail person seems really shitty in my opinion.
Yeah.
No matter what the pay is.
And they don't have the ability to get a second job because just the time is not there.
It's not feasible. I mean, if they had time to get a second job, then they wouldn't be as upset about not having time with the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's funny because, when we were coming down to Florida and people were learning about what we were doing, I was getting job offers as we were coming down. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, "No." "Well, we could set you up. You could work from home. I mean, you had to travel a little bit, but you could work from home. We'll pay you this much." And I was like, no. Because it's not about just the money. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you got to earn an income. You got to pay your bills. But the quality of life component to me exceeds the compensation. Although I've managed to create ways for the compensation to
still
work.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is also what a lot of people will have to do, is make the compensation work, whether it's making more through that compensation, increasing the amount of compensation sources, multiple streams of income, mm-hmm. and or reducing the burden and expense and overhead expense, monthly expenses and budget, mm-hmm. to make whatever compensation they have work for them. Mm-hmm. People are moving in together. Families, multiple generations and families are living together. I would imagine that housing will probably get repurposed or redesigned or remodeled in the future, mm-hmm. to where you used to have a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms or something. Mm-hmm. And it'll probably be redesigned to be 6 bedrooms.
Duplex style, you thinking?
Like literally redesigned so that these houses literally have sleeping quarters, mm-hmm. and more bathrooms, mm-hmm. and a larger kitchen, so that it's literally just like a hostel.
You're describing most of the condos here in these travel areas, because if you go to these houses that have 5 bedrooms, they sleep 20. It's because they've got 2 sets of bunk beds per room. They've got an extra small kitchen on one side of the house, so that anybody over staying on that side can cook. And then you've got your main kitchen. You've got like half baths all over the place with just little stand-up showers, no tubs. And so that's not far off, because that is how things are designed in certain areas already to fit 20 people in 1,500 square feet.
It'll be like a dorm style. Mm-hmm. And I think that will be the direction that it goes. And it's like, obviously with real estate, the land, they're not making any more of it. So typically
they'll find a way. Take away the oceans, build more land.
This is why builders don't build ranch style homes anymore, mm-hmm. because the price per square foot for them isn't worth it. Mm-hmm. So they build up. You mm-hmm. go vertical, then you can maximize your space the volume per square foot, because you're going vertical. Mm-hmm. So in the future, I think we're going to see that happen more. I'm seeing apartment complexes going up to 4 stories and 5 stories, mm-hmm. when they used to only go to 3.
Yeah.
And they're going to go vertical. And some of these homes are going to get remodeled and redesigned so that they sleep more, so that people can afford to have a home and still have the needs and necessities met of the laundry, the washing, like mm-hmm. a bathroom, shower, mm-hmm. and a kitchen.
Now, I know I've had people comment on videos before, especially when we were traveling, that in California, there's a lot of places already where it's rent a room kind of thing, where maybe it is, I don't know if it's a house. I don't know if it's some place that used to be like a school or a daycare or something that has been turned into something different where you can go rent a room, which you may also see happening. You see how many defunct buildings there are out there where people couldn't pay the mortgage or the lease on them anymore. So you have all these buildings just sitting around doing nothing. Somebody could come in and buy those up and turn those into individual unit housing kind of things at the same time.
It could happen with commercial office space. Obviously, it had to get rezoned to
Because
allow.
those already have bathrooms.
It had to get rezoned to allow people to live there, quote unquote, live there. But these empty office buildings could be redesigned and repurposed for dorm style living. But it's also being done, not that specifically, but it could be done where employers are buying homes to include in their compensation packages for their employees. So the employer owns a neighborhood. And if you work here, you live here. What
Yeah,
movie was
but-
that? What movie was that?
That is a movie, but it's also if you lose your job, you have nowhere to live.
True. Yes.
So that's one of those catch-22s that you don't really.
Absolutely. But perhaps maybe for some, that is the compromise.
Yes.
That is the compromise.
And then you're willing to do whatever, and they know that they have you under their thumb, and you're willing to work however, get paid whatever, because your literal living situation depends on it.
hopefully,
I don't like
there are
it.
still a handful of employers out there that have a conscience and a heart.
I don't think it's going to be the ones who have enough money to afford neighborhoods and house you, though.
The ones who do have enough and have a conscience and a heart will receive that back tenfold
Oh, yeah.
if they take that step to treat their employees in
Like human beings.
these ways. And they put everything else aside, they'll see how valuable that is and how much more profitable that is and how less of a turnover they'll have and lower costs. You know how much it costs to,
Fire somebody and hire somebody?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's extremely expensive to hire somebody. It's like $3,500 from the last time I had to hire somebody. It's like $3,500 just to get the background check and all the paperwork and literally adding people to payrolls and stuff like that. That's per person. That's expensive.
yeah. So, perhaps maybe down the road, possibly that could be what happens. But we're going to have a solution because I think Intel just yesterday or the day before announced that they're laying off a few thousand employees. Walmart laid off a few thousand employees. Bed Bath & Beyond is closing hundreds of stores. We got issues with banks around the world, Credit Suisse, and companies tied in financially with that. It's not just the folks here watching and listening. These businesses need to pay attention too, because if they continue down the path that they're on, they're all going to face huge losses and bankruptcies and defaults and closures. And it's just not going to be good for anybody.
Well, just like you said, for people, sometimes bankruptcies aren't bad. So a lot of companies may be looking at that. I remember a few months ago, I talked about Revlon filed bankruptcy, and all that did was help them be able to rebrand and redo some things so that they're still out on the market, but it kind of helped.
I say it's not bad after I say
Last resort.
yes,
Absolute last resort.
because you should try to fix the problem first. But realize if you can't, there's no sense in just getting buried alive. But it's not the first resort.
Yeah.
Because if that's the first resort and everybody does it, then that'll be, you talk about a great reset. I mean, if everybody filed bankruptcy, if everybody filed bankruptcy, we would literally be right in the same spot because everybody can't press reset at the same time.
Yeah.
And, some folks asked, they're like, talk about these jobs and these layoffs, and why would you trust that? Why would you put your faith in this business or that company, or why would you trust YouTube to pay you, or why would you trust your business or anything like that? And that's just it. You don't trust any of them.
That's why you have more than one.
You save your money, you invest your money, you make more money, you make money for you, because you just never know. It's not a trust issue. It's, yes, my car is very reliable. My car has no emotion. but my car can break down. And
Or
it's
your
not
car-
intentional. It's not purpose. It's not in spite of me. It just happens.
And sometimes it's not even your car broke down. It's somebody hit it, and now you don't have a car. So it's completely out of your control, and it's something you didn't see coming either.
Or a tree fell on it.
Or a tree fell. That would suck.
A tree fell on it because your neighbor had a dying tree that was leaning and actually had already fallen over and was leaning on another tree. But they didn't have the money to pay the thousands of dollars to the
have
tree
the tree
company
removed.
to remove it. So they just let it sit there, continuously decaying until it fell on your car.
And then your insurance has to cover it because it's on your property.
But none of these things are necessarily intentional. It's just that anything could happen at any time. And the best thing you can do is try to prepare yourself in as many different ways as possible. And now, finding a way to be somewhat self-sufficient, especially whether you like it or not, as we move towards a more digital age, you might want to figure out a way to get on board. You don't see people driving horse and buggy around on public roads unless you're in an Amish
I was
community.
about to say, there are still those who do it.
However, the majority have evolved with technology, okay? And that is what is happening with our economy and with business. And if you're not evolving, like my grandmother, she used to be a operator, and she would connect calls with the little plugs.
With the little plugs and stuff, like they do in John Wick.
And if she, it's like if she was like, well, I'm never going to evolve, well, eventually that job is going to be eliminated. And that's what's happening now. Case in point, Walmart land.
Oh, yeah. I talked about this kind of thing a few weeks ago at Starbucks.
Walmart land. It's a virtual Walmart.
In the metaverse.
Selling digital products. If anybody's listening now, still, I guess that's what's going to happen with these podcasts. If you listen long enough, you'll catch a golden nugget.
Yes. It's like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka.
Selling digital products. Literally, think about it. You don't have any inventory issues.
Yeah.
Once you make it once, it's done. You don't have reoccurring costs. That COGS, the cost of goods sold, you have it one time.
Let me jump in here. No, you finish and I'll go.
I'm going to give you an example of a digital product that gets sold and is very profitable. And it's pretty much any application you use on a regular basis. Adobe, Microsoft Office, Photoshop, Final Cut Pro, which is what I use to edit videos, Adobe Premiere. There's digital products that these companies make. Video games, Fortnite, Call of Duty, League of Legends. I think there's a new one, I can't remember. And they make them one time, and then they sell them infinitely.
But here's the thing. They sell those infinitely. And then like our kid, she likes to play Roblox and she likes to play Fortnite. And they have these battle passes. They have these outfits that you can buy these characters. They have these character upgrades. So you sell the thing one time.
Skins.
Yeah, the skins. And then that just sounds gross. Every time I hear it, I think of like literal skins.
I bought John Cena's skin.
Stupid.
Why did I say it like that?
But she will ask, for $25 every once in a while to buy these new things that come out for Halloween, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for Easter. These new, just geared things, add-ons. Yes,
they're downloadable content.
Yes, and then once she has it, it's
purchases.
hers. But if you don't buy it, you don't get it. So she's like, oh no, I have to get the Christmas stuff for the horses. She loves Star Stable. I want these horses and all this other stuff. And in my mind, I'm going, why would I spend money on something you can't physically hold? It's not a tangible good. It's just something online and it costs money, which I'm like, that's stupid. But when I was her age, I had a Game Boy and I would go out and buy games. And just because I held them in my hand doesn't change what it was for me versus what it is for her. The gaming thing has just evolved from what we had as kids to what they have now.
All right, so I'm going to lump this into the category of digital real estate. If you've never heard of digital real estate, write this down, do some homework, do some research. Digital real estate is literally the next form of real estate where you said they'll find a way to make more. They'll make it digitally. So they literally have an infinite supply of digital real estate. Somewhat. .com. .com is an example of digital real estate. Although .com was limited because there's only so many millions and trillions of combinations and permutations of letters, it will eventually come to an end.
To where you have to have .net, .org, .co,
And then,
whatever.
exactly. And then they do it again.
Yeah.
So digital real estate can apply to this downloadable content. And it actually happened years ago. I think this was 2004, 2005. And I was playing a game called Forza Motorsports. And what you would do is you would race, you would win money from the races, and you would build cars. And then you would design cars, graphics, and different things like that. You know why? Because you could then take that car and advertise it on eBay. And some newbie would come into the game and really want it and not want to do the work to get it. And I could literally sell the car for money.
How did you transfer it from your game to theirs at that point?
You can buy and sell and trade to other players in the game.
Okay. I mean, I played Forza and I watched you play Forza and stuff, but I didn't remember.
You can buy and sell and trade to other players in the game. And it was like, in the game, all you can get is game. So, but what would happen is, but look, I'm going to sell you this car on eBay for $100 and I'm going to trade it to you in the game for 1 coin.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And that was digital real estate.
Well, that's like the kid now. She does the, I don't remember if it's Roblox. I think it's that's the one where she builds all the houses and stuff. And then she gets her friends or people on the game who are like, hey, you did a really good job. Can you do that for me? But it costs money to build in the game. Like she has to spend money to get the whatever, or she has to work in the game to earn credits to build these things. And I'm like, kid, that's your next side hustle. You know, it's never too early to start making money. They want you to build a house. It costs you money. You build it, you charge them more, and there's their house.
And then the beauty of it is you can do it anywhere.
Yes.
As long as you have an internet connection, you can do it anywhere. And this is the direction that business and economy is going somewhat. Obviously, you still need food and clothing and things like that. But there's going to be a huge demand for digital assets. And for the folks out there who have the ability, the technological ability to do it, it's going to be a great opportunity. Now, granted, for those that don't, theoretically, right now, you're thinking to yourself, I don't have that. Well, you may be surprised of what opportunities exist and how quickly and easily you can become technologically viable and or valuable and turn your knowledge, your skill, your experience into real life dollars. Like literally, I was sending a text this morning with Chris and teaching him or trying to help him walk him through video editing, converting landscape 16:9 video into portrait 9:16 to upload to a short. And I mean, this is something people pay for.
Yeah.
And if you know how to do it,
Yeah.
or even if you don't know how to do it and you decide you want to learn how to do it, well, guess what? Now you know how to do it and you can teach other people how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's so simple for the fact that a lot of people don't want to put the effort out there. Like for me, I like cars. I used to enjoy washing cars, but I don't want to do it anymore. Therefore, I'm going to pay someone else to do it for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm also going to then use that time that I'm not using washing the car to do something that makes more than what I spent to wash the car.
Correct.
And there's nothing wrong with that. This is the balance and the cycle of our economy. And, you know, that young man last night, Jeremy, he was like, the businesses support businesses.
Yes.
And that's how everything continues to grow. And he hit the nail on the head, as I do have a video I need to share with you guys about basically answering a question that was asked. And it was, what jobs do you suggest or recommend? And I went in depth on that. And it's basically about aligning yourself with the economy So back in 2017, when we decided to create a construction company, it was because we wanted to move towards our own business and having more control of our lives, better quality of life, and being somewhat recession proof, which is why we did what we did and what the direction we went. We can get into that in another video. If you guys are interested, just hit me up, drop a comment, or shoot me an email. But I didn't want to set up a business to rely on a weak industry. But now it's a little bit different. Obviously, pandemic and supply chain disrupted construction a little bit, but today, and it's always evolving, it's forever evolving, and it's like, all right, so today it's a little different than it was 5 years ago. So now this is what I see, in my opinion, as the best possible, safest direction to go. And it may not necessarily be a job, it could be a business, but ultimately the direction that anybody could go personally or with their business to align with the economic trends to make sure that you'll survive through these tough times and come out the other side. Because if you can come out the other side already established, you have the greatest chance of just blowing up and just destroying it. And then the other one, which I need to hit on, somebody asked, what do we do for health insurance since we don't have jobs?
Yeah.
And, jobs, benefits, all these little perks that they try to dangle these carrots in front of you to coerce you into being loyal slaves to their companies. And I'm only saying that if the companies don't treat you well.
Yes.
If they treat you well, then you're part of the family.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about that as far as health insurance and benefits. Honestly, if you really were to sit down and put a dollar value on the health and on the benefits that your employer provides you, then it's very simple. Figure out how to incorporate that dollar value in anything else you do, and the benefits will be there. They exist. You can go get them yourself. You can buy them yourself. You can manage them yourself, and possibly even better than what they offered, because it's specifically tailored to you versus the overall company and or whoever's in HR running it, and what aligns best with them.
Yeah.
So we'll cover all that on an upcoming video. You guys check out this video here, and I got a playlist put together for a lot of these podcasts that we are doing, Squirrel Tribe and I are doing together. Subscribe to both channels, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.